It's been a long while since I've last uploaded. I greatly apologize. My recording software was kind of buggy, so I had to get new recording software. But do not worry. I will be posting videos, continuations of some of my favorite series, and part 2s for things like one-shots and stuff like that. But anywho, let us begin with the story. Now, what is this story, y'all might be wondering? Well, gather round, the primordial or yin and yang campfire. Today's story is the story of the draconic emperors. For those who do not know, the draconic emperors, or the lords of destruction, were very powerful and very ancient warlords who were, well, let's just say, way too powerful. Each one, according to lore-wise, at least from what I know, each one might be on, if not a greater level than, let's see, dragons like Drake and Albion at their full potential. Now these dragons come from a pack called the Lords of Destruction from Battle Cats. No, I haven't been able to get a single damn Uber from this pack, and one day, Ganglion, you will be mine, you busted ass dragon. But, sorry about the little rant. Anywho, let us begin. This is the story of what if Deku was and wielded the dragon emperors. Allow me to explain. And well, let us begin. Young Izuku Midoriya was a quirkless child, born in a world where power meant everything. If you had no power, you were treated like the dirt, or that you would wipe off your shoes. For example, Izuku Midoriya had no power, no quirk of any kind. And because of this, everyone, even his own family, turned on him. Without a quirk, he was relegated to basically useless. And when you live in Japan, and when you live in a world that is very densely populated in people with superpowers, that's kind of bad. Allow me to explain. In this world, Izuku Midoriya is one of 2% of humanity without a power. These are very ass odds indeed. Izuku was born without a quirk. He had no power of any kind, but he had a kind heart and a will to protect and save others, despite what they had done to him. Until one day, Izuku came home from school, and a young 5-year-old Izuku came home from school His mother had been drinking harshly. She yelled at him and even grabbed a glass bottle and she used her quirk to grab glass bottles and then throw them at Izuku. He didn't understand why she did this, as she would then yell something that would permanently be stuck in Izuku's mind forever. Why were you ever born, you useless, quirkless nobody? Why did I ever have to give birth to you? Why you instead of someone who had a power? If you had a power, and if you had a quirk, my damned husband would still be with me. You fucking mistake. As she would then use her quirk to begin sending knives at Izuku. Izuku was then, after his rough beating, Izuku ran outside of his house trying to escape, only to be met with his bullies, Bakugo Katsuki and his goons. They tortured him with their quirks. One lifted Izuku off the ground by 10 feet due to their flying quirk, and then dropped him. Izuku almost died from that alone, but the torture was not over. Bakugo grabbed onto Izuku and sent the strongest explosions he could at the time. Down on Izuku's wrists. However, it wasn't the burns of the explosions which hurt them, and which were the most painful. It was the effects of the explosions. Due to Izuku not having a quirk, his body was not exactly prepared to wield and to combat or protect against one. And so, the explosions quite literally shattered and shook his own bones from the inside. Basically breaking both of his wrists. In a panic, Izuku ran for miles. His hands not being able to move the entire time. And then it happened. Hours later, Izuku was battered, beaten, and bloody, trudging through the forest with the last amounts of consciousness that he had. And then he discovered a giant dark gray and black castle in the woods. However, the castle appeared to be ancient. As Izuku then woke himself up, or at least forced himself to stay awake just a bit longer. As he got onto his feet and stumbled over to the castle. It was ginormous, absolutely humongous. It looked like an entire city. And it looked about the size of an entire city, maybe even two. Now, just an entire city. The castle was humongous, but also ancient, far more ancient than anything Izuku knew of. And Izuku was quite intelligent for his age of being only 5 years old. Now, Izuku, who saw that on this castle there was roots and trees covering the entire castle, essentially chaining it to the ground, covering and wrapping around the towers, grooving and moving through cracks in the walls. The roots, thorns, and vines basically acted as some sort of overgrowth. Izuku simply walked in the castle, and suddenly, as if he was shoved in this chest with energy and vitality unmatched, Izuku became completely awake. It felt as if he had slept for a full 8 hours, and for a full 8 hours, which was very rare for Izuku because his mother would always wake him up in the middle of the night to beat him. Izuku then walked inside and noticed that his cuts, his bruises, everything, they were healing at an abnormal rate. Even his bones were somehow starting to work again. His wrists could move again, although it still stung. Izuku walked inside of the ginormous castle and explored a bit. He discovered a ginormous table in the middle of the castle, absolutely humongous, as if this castle was made for giants. The table appeared to be ancient and made of some sort of volcanic stone. Same thing with the chairs and a whole bunch of other things within the castle. As Izuku kept wandering down further and further into the castle, exploring more and more, eventually discovering bedrooms, armories, all that type of stuff, he was confused. How the heck was such a castle in the middle of the woods in such a perfect condition despite the overgrowth that's been going on outside? Height of it. As then Izuku would then hear something sounding like a sniffing noise, like someone was sobbing and sniffling. Izuku carefully, he followed the noise, and lo and behold, he found himself standing in front of a very long spiral staircase which led somewhere Izuku could not see. Izuku, being fully rejuvenated, walked down the steps, being careful not to alert any monsters or villains or people that might be inside. Not even any heroes. As Izuku walked down, he saw that this basement of the castle was some sort of dungeon. But also, he could see that there was closed off holes where very ancient and yet obscure, almost seemingly high-tech weapons were at. It seemed as if this castle worked as both a castle and a pirate ship somehow, with the sides opening up to reveal cannons, which would blast at enemies. But Izuku would then notice that the sobbing and sniffling noises were getting louder and louder as he went down the dungeon. He saw many empty cages and cells. He saw cages hanging from the ceilings of all different sizes. He saw ancient chandeliers lit by some sort of purple flame. No, by some sort of somehow rainbow-esque flame. He walked down this dungeon-like corridor and eventually found himself standing in front of a ginormous door. Izuku then, and somehow, was able to climb up to the doorknob and was able to climb up to what appeared to be many different locks. He skillfully and quietly unlocked the door. As he then jumped down, alerting whatever was inside. Izuku walked inside and saw hundreds of thousands of millions of ginormous chains and covering some sort of person, covered in a near all black tattered cloak. As Izuku then said, "Hello?" As then a voice would come from the tattered cloaked person, as it would be a feminine one, as she would then say, "Who's there? Who's there? Let me guess. You're here to mock me again. And, You foolish gods? Here to mock me again. And for falling into... Here to mock me again for being too weak to even move." As Izuku would then say, "What do you mean?" And she'd then say, "Don't play boy with me. You clearly must have been sent by one of the gods or so-called heroes of the Aegesian Empire. Are you not?" As Izuku would then say, "What even is that?" The voice would then say, "Question. What is your name and age?" As then Izuku would then say, "My name is Izuku. My age is 5. Suddenly the cloaked person would then say, "Izuku, huh? Very well then. You can simply just call me Miss for right now." As he'd then say, "All right, Miss, question, why are you chained up?" As she would then say, "Oh, it's a long story. I was chained up and deceived. My greatest warriors and generals simply were forced to forget of my existence. I'm innocent, I tell you, innocent. They wrongfully evil warriors and rulers from an evil empire called the Aegesian Empire came Hey man, you locked me up like this. I'm innocent, I tell you. Innocent. As Izuku would then say, "Oh dear, I'm sorry. How can I help you?" As Izuku could not see it, but from underneath the tattered cloak, the person would smile deep, and would give a disturbing grin, as the voice would then say, and as Miss would then say, "Oh, it's very simple. On my my chest, and on my stomach and back are two locks. They do not require keys, but instead they simply require someone to turn them and to turn the one on the back counterclockwise and the one on the front clockwise." As Izuku would then walk up to the woman and to the chained person. As he would then see, he appeared to be a mysterious clock-shaped lock on her chest, on the woman's chest and back. As she would then say, "All you have to do is rewind the clock on the back counterclockwise to 1, and you have to wind the clock on the front clockwise to the 3. That's all you have to do, really." As Izuku would then say, "Okay, I can do that." As he then walked over to the locks, and as he then walked over to the woman's back and began turning the lock until it reached 1 by going counterclockwise. Suddenly, what appeared to be a powerful blast of energy came from the lock, as it then glowed in a golden and white aura, and immediately began unlocking, and immediately he began turning all the chains that were connected to that side of the lock into golden and white. As she would then say, "Good, good. Now, get at the lock on the front, and then I'll be free." Izuku, not knowing any better, would then walk over to the lock on the front. He would then turn the lock clockwise to the 3. As suddenly the same thing would happen to the front lock and all the chains connected. As then, and both sets of locks and chains would then begin glowing pure white, as they would immediately begin shattering instantaneously. As if, and when Izuku was done with the locks, it was as if a large burst of uncontrollable energy blasted from the woman herself. As the locks and chains, or at least what was left of them, was blasted off to the walls, Izuku was admittedly shoved a few feet off the floor. And was admittedly shoved off of his feet and sliding on the floor. As we then see the woman then take off the cloth, as she then says, "Finally, so long I spent inside of that, inside of those chains, so long, taunted by cruel gods and warriors. My empire. I must check on it. As she would then grab Izuku with one arm and began running out of the dungeon. As she would then reach the table, which Izuku had seen earlier. She then placed her hand on the center of the table, and suddenly it was as if she had awoken something. The table began, and cracks came in the table, splitting it apart into different sections, each with a symbol of a different draconic face. The cracks would then fill themselves with glowing golden lava, as in the walls and ceilings and floors would begin cracking open as well. Somehow, though, the lava in the ceilings and walls would not drip down. Instead, it would stay on the ceilings and walls. As then the castle itself released a large bellowing roar. As we go outside, as we see the castle begin and shifting and moving, as she then says, how long has it been since the Great War, Babel? As then a voice would echo throughout the entire castle, as it would then say, it has been many, many years. The gods had destroyed everything, sealed away everyone. Sorry about that. Where was I? Let's see. I don't exactly remember where I left off, so the castle's voice then said, and everyone else had been sealed away. I have no idea where they could possibly be. But everyone are warriors, soldiers. Even the rest of the emperors had been sealed away. However, now that we have you back, we can finally start rebuilding our empire. But like I said, it's going to be hard. As in the castle would then say. Also, I detected I detected another person inside. So please tell me, who let you out? Because I know the Jessians would not just let you go freely. I should then say, it was a 5-year-old child. I didn't really get to see him much, but he's quite the looker. Adorable too. However, I can tell that he's been affected by your crystal's healing magic greatly. So while we've been talking, I did some well, how should I say it? Investigating through the child's mind. And he has nowhere to go. He is shunned by the world for what he is. You see, in this world, from what I've gathered from this child's memories, there are no dragons or gods, but instead everyone, except a very small amount of humans, have abilities called quirks. Essentially, they somehow were able to gain magic. Although it is a much lesser form of magic. I wanted to know. I wanted to tell you simply that I'm thinking of keeping the boy, after all. Oh, it's been quite a while since I've had any, company, and well, you being a living castle just wouldn't really work much for comfort, as she would then say. No, I think this boy will be a quite nice addition to our empire in the future. As the castle, also known as Babel, would then say, Hold on. Sorry about that. As she would then say, this boy, I see many possibilities. Did you know that in about slightly over 1,000,000 different possibilities, this boy becomes a god? He really does have potential. But then again, what if we made him something even better? As she would then say, there is a possibility, a very slim chanced possibility, that the boy came here, of all places. And, well, there is only one possibility with that singular scenario. As she would then say, Izuku here is going to become my mate when he's older. He will be so strong that he will rip the heavens asunder. Not even the Aegean Empire can defeat him. However, there is, of course, like usual, an obstacle. In almost every singular possibility, he is approached by a descendant of Gaia. This descendant of Gaia then gives him his power, and then gives Izuku his power, and he goes to be a mortal superhero, or super zero, I should say. She would then say, we must make sure, or that he never meets Gaia's descendant, especially during his year of 14. Once that happens, everything will be okay. And soon, with him by my side, we will resurrect, and we will unseal the others, and the world will finally be ours, consumed by our primordial darkness and greatness. She would then say, but first, I require a means to make him into what I must make him. And for that, I require a bit of your scales, and just a small bit of your scales and lava. I know you can regrow them at ease, but still, I don't want to annoy you or harm you. As Babel would then say, very well then. And my empress, you may take as many scales and as much of my lifeblood, the golden magma, as you see fit. I should then say, perfect. I should then set to work on a ring. I should then inject some of her own blood and power into this ring. I should then say, this ring is very special. Once Izuku puts it on, bam, he will slowly be transformed into what would basically be a male version of myself. Yes, soon. Soon. She would then smile evilly. Izuku would then wake up an hour later, noticing that he has a strange ring on his pointer finger. As he tries to take it off, but for some reason it won't come off yet. As he walks off, and as he leaves what appears to be some sort of bed, as he then walks down a flight of stairs and sees the woman who he had freed, and sees a woman sitting on what appears to be a throne in front of the table. However, now the castle is dripping, and the castle is now flowing with lava, which defies the laws of gravity. Asha would then say, Izuku, welcome. As he'd then say, how did you know my name? And she would then say, it's on your shirt tag, and 2, I can simply read your mind and see your memories. As he'd then say, whoa, that's really cool. That's a really cool quirk you have there. I should then say, oh no, this is no quirk, boy. As Izuku would then be confused, as she would then say, allow me to explain. I am the empress, as in leader and ruler of a long-lost civilization. The draconic dynasty. However, back then we had thousands of soldiers, thousands of millions of soldiers who obeyed my every whim. Back then, I ruled the world in peace until a foolish goddess came and started war on my civilization. We were thrown into war and destruction. As she would then say, however, after her 10,000 years of war, She sealed away me and my successors and generals. As she would then say, with our powers, we were godlike. We were stronger than gods. We were so powerful that we could tear the whole universe asunder. As she would then say, but we were tricked and sealed away by that foolish goddess and her empire. As she would then say, by the way, thank you for freeing me. Now, as a token of my gratitude, I granted you that ring and a stay here. You will live here for as long as you live. That ring, however, serves a great purpose. You see, over time, it will transform you into one of my kind, a draconic emperor, and a dragon emperor. And with that power, you will be able to do anything you want. You can accomplish your dreams. You could get revenge on people who had wronged you. You could rule over all as a god. But, of course, such is your decision. As she would say. And so, I welcome you, Izuku, to Babel. So, I'm sorry about where we had the place. It's just, I've been sealed away for billions and for millions of years. As in the castle would then say, greetings, young Izuku. I am Babel, the dark flame castle. As Izuku would then say, hello, Babel. As he would say, what's your name, miss? As she would then say, I think it's right for me to tell you my true name. I'm the draconic empress, Ganglion. As she would then say, with my great power, I ruled over the entire cosmos until that foolish goddess came and sealed me away, of course. The goddess in question here is obviously Gaia. But back to the story. As you would then say, now Izuku, while you are here, I will give you great tutelage and training. But first, we must get to a much nicer location. After all, dragons do love to perch on some of the tallest and hardest to reach places in the world. As she would then say, Babel, please begin flight. As suddenly the entire temple and the entire castle would begin flying, revealing the shiny stone and revealing the shiny crystals underneath. As she would then say, Babel here is a legendary dragon who fused himself with, the great heavenly white castle. However, due to his draconic nature, the castle darkened to fit his tastes and personality. As she would then say, Babel here, however, is very powerful. Why, with a single attack, Babel is able to quite literally destroy an entire civilization. But, of course, now is not the time for destruction, as the castle would begin flying up in the air, as it would break free from the vines and roots and tree branches holding it in place. As suddenly the castle would begin flying towards Mount Fuji. Now this would not go unnoticed, of course. As we go to a certain mouse, who is simply watching the news and drinking tea, as it then says, breaking news from a nearby forest. I'm from a forest in the eastern. I'm from a nearby forest to Masatafu. I'm from a nearby forest to Masutafu. A strange, ginormous, city-sized castle has begun unfloating and has begun flying towards what can only be described as Mount Fuji. As it would then say, huh, how interesting. Is this something of the past, I wonder? As we go back to Izuku, as the entire castle then perches at the top of Mount Fuji, destroying the capstone, or the top of the mountain, in the process. As Ganglion would then say, behold, Izuku, this will be your home. Instead of living down with the peasants and human filth, you will live up here in the highest peaks with us, like gods watching the filthy ants crawl amongst the earth. As she would then say, now come, after all, there's much for you to learn. As we skip 10 years, well, not 10 years, sorry. As we skip 4 years, Izuku is now 9. And he has learned quite much. He's learned techniques that have allowed him to fly. He's learned how to summon, and how to summon forth with entire blazes of powerful hellfire. He has even begun learning demonic and cosmic ways of magic as well. Ganglion would then say, Izuku, dinner is ready. After dinner, though, we will be taking a visit back to the ground. Unfortunately, back in the lower lands, we have detected we've detected an ancient warrior of ours, one of my most powerful generals, Raiden. Raiden was a warrior who trained his whole life for the singular purpose of defeating the Aegisian Empire. With his firepower and techniques on our side, we will surely grow stronger with ease. And he can even help you learn some new flying techniques, as well as his gun magic. You see, Raiden has the mystical ability of being able to transform pure energy and being able to transform energy into pure or attacks that resemble bullets. However, these bullets are merely sharpened pieces of rock, sometimes combined with tungsten and metal. However, they're going at such a speed to the point where it seems as if they're made of, where it seems as if they're bullets made of fire. As she would then say, now, let's eat. After they're done eating, they would then go down below, as they would then reach a museum, where they would see a ginormous stone monolith, and where they would then see a ginormous stone sort of wall. It appeared to be taken from some sort of castle or mountain, but embedded into the wall appeared to be some sort of draconic figure. Oh dear heaven. As Izuku would then see and built within the wall was simply a scrolling code of scrolling 3-digit code. As Ganglion would then say, put in 3, 1, 4. As Izuku would then do so. As suddenly the wall would begin melting, seemingly transforming into sand or water. As then the stone beast would then become much more flesh-like. As we then see an entity, and a ginormous draconic entity, she would then say, Raiden, online, what have I missed, Ganglion? As she would then explain all that has happened over the course of, the 4 years she has been awakened. As he would then say, so this boy is going to be part of our empire. I should then say yes. However, he does have great promise. So I would like you to teach him of your blazing fire technique, and of your lightning fire technique, and some more of your more complicated flight path techniques as well. As Raiden would then say, at once, my lady. As he would then begin teaching Izuku how to do very complicated flight maneuvers in case if he was ever being chased by a dragon or man-made war machine. As we go back to Ganglion, who is using a sort of map creation of hers in order to scan and locate where the others were. And she would then say, Izuku, we have located one of my old generals, and another one of the emperors. Emperor Kamukura. He, if I'm correct, he was sealed within a ginormous bamboo, and within a ginormous sakura tree. It wraps around his entire body. All we need to simply do is just, well, light the tree ablaze. As Izuku would then say, got it. As they would then reach the absolutely ginormous sakura tree. As Izuku would then activate his ring, and would then spin his ring around his finger, as it would then and begin tightening on his finger while glowing. And slightly, the orange color within it would slowly fade into black, but only by 3 shades darker. Stop that! Sorry about that. I have cats. They like clawing the doors. Anywho, back to the story. As Izuku would then launch a blast of powerful golden flames at the giant sakura tree, which would then instantaneously burn away, as Kamakura would then awaken, as he'd then say, all of my ribs and my spine. Ganglion, Raiden, how long has it been in Sen? And how many day and moon cycles? And how many sun and moon cycles has it been since I've last seen you two? Come on, give this dragon a hug. As you then say, what have I missed? As Ganglion would then explain that Izuku was essentially transforming into a male version of her. As he would then say, he does not know this. And as she would then say in private, he does not exactly know this, but each time he uses a draconic technique or power, the ring on his finger slowly fades more and more. Once the orange of the ring has entirely faded into black, then the draconic power within the ring, and therefore all the energy and blood I put into said ring, will flow into the boy, fully transforming him into a dragon, into a draconic emperor. As she would then say, but that now is not the time for discussing the future. Instead, we should discuss the present. As she would then say, now, you are to train Izuku on your infamous speed techniques, as I know how fast and agile you are if you want to be. Also, please teach him how to use your flowing and flourishing heaven technique. After all, he will be learning every single draconic technique. As Izuku would then say, what is the flowing heaven technique? As Kamukura would then demonstrate by simply raising his upper part, his upper half upwards, as he would then close his right claw and his right hand, as suddenly a portion of the ground would vibrate, as he would then release his hand, as from the ground itself a large flow of gold and blue liquid energy would come out pouring. But it would strike out would strike the earth, and from the earth with such a force and speed that it would be able to, quite literally, send anything above it and that it hit into the frickin' moon, and into the freaking sun. As he then said, "Behold, my flowing heaven technique. I can use this technique for many different attacks and combat styles." As he would then say, "Now, however, you are nowhere near ready to even begin performing what I just did. Now, we are going to start off with the basics. So first, you're going to want to, as we then leave Izuku and Kamukura, as we see Ganglion smiling in her throne, as she then says, soon, soon, the whole world will fall back into the hands of draconic balance. A world with a strong rule over the weak. A world where there is no committees, and a world where there is no laws, and where there's no laws of jurisdictions. No. A world where there is only the one primordial rule. The rule of violence. If you want something, you will fight for it. If you want to be the ruler, you will fight the ruler, and you will challenge the ruler for that position. If you want something, you will fight for it. After all, such is the primordial way of life, she would say. And she would then smile sweetly and sickly. As she would then say, and soon this whole world will be brought back into the hands of that delicate and yet permanent balance. As she would then smile and begin chuckling evilly. And that is where I end this part off with. I hope you all enjoyed part 1 of What If Deku wielded the dragon and the draconic or dragon emperors. I hope you all have enjoyed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, or comment, subscribble. If you have any ideas, post them down in the comments. Please tell me how you liked this part and if you'd like to see a part 2. And without further ado, like, share, comment, subscribe, subscribble, and, skadoosh.